What's up guys, my name is Liam and today we're going to be doing a full in-depth review on the Ajazz AJ199. I've seen people online hailing this as the GPRO Superlight Mini. I've been doing some thorough testing on this mouse and it is a pretty different experience with a great shape. So this is going to be the perfect gaming mouse for you. Let's check it out. All right guys, and starting out, here's the box of the Ajazz AJ199. If you turn over to the back here, it shows all the details. Claims this mouse comes in at 59 grams plus or minus 3 grams. This mouse comes with a 3395 sensor in it. It only supports up to 1000 hertz polling rate, and it looks like it has a 300 milliamp hour battery in it. So upon opening the mouse up, as you can see here, I opted for the white version. I actually picked this mouse up off Amazon. This mouse was going for a lot cheaper of a price than what I got it for. When I picked up this mouse, it's actually gone up to $80. You can get it other places like MetKeys for a cheaper price. However, the only reason I went with Amazon is because it did have free overnight shipping. So, I was excited to get it in my hands as early as possible. And had I done a faster shipping on one of the international sellers, it would have came out to about the same price. So here's what the mouse looks like out of the box. And as you can see here, it does kind of look like the scroll wheel is slightly leaning to a bit towards the right there. It doesn't hinder the performance in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, when I was gaming with it, I didn't notice any single issues with it. So here's what the bottom of the mouse looks like right there. There we got the top, and included in the box, it does come with this removable top shell. So you can take the top shell off of the mouse. But when you do take the top shell off, this is actually where the dongle sits inside of the mouse. And then also included inside the box, just get the instruction manual here. And the last thing that it comes with is it does come with this white cable. And as you guys can see here, this is a USB-C connection on the cable. So a couple things that I wanted to bring up to you guys is out of the box. Honestly, this mouse feels great. And we'll jump into that here in just a second. But again, as I'd mentioned, you can remove this top shell cover. And honestly, this top shell cover right here feels really heavy for what it is. Honestly, I feel like it'd feel a lot lighter. I don't know if that's like 6 or 7 grams. That feels pretty beefy. You'd think that that'd only be a couple grams, but that feels pretty heavy. We'll wait here in just a second. But one thing I did want to mention to you guys is, like I told you, this mouse comes with a cable. However, it does not come with a dongle adapter. So when I got this mouse and hooked it up, I actually just had to use one of the dongle holders for my Atlantis Mini, as I had a couple of those sitting on the desk. But that is one thing that's kind of a bummer about this mouse being out of the box. You actually have to take the dongle out of the dongle holder to swap them out. So hopefully I'm not going to have any issues with losing these. When it comes to these two shells, let's go ahead and throw this on the scale really quick and check out what the weight's going to be. All right, so it looks like on my copy, the weight of this mouse with the solid shell on top is coming in at approximately 64 grams. And let's go and throw the solid shell here on the scale, see what that's coming in at. All right, so it is coming in at just under 7 grams. All right, so now we're going to compare with the backing with the holes on it. So if we were to go ahead and throw the holes on the top shell here and throw the mouse on here, looks like it comes in at just about 62 grams. So you save only a couple of grams. However, I did find with my experience, I do prefer to have the shell on there. Obviously, it's not going to be that much of a difference. But for me, since the holes don't bother me, the lighter the better. When it comes to the coating of the mouse, honestly, the coating on this mouse, it doesn't feel too bad. I'm not sure if it's just a plastic with no type of additional coating on it. However, I didn't feel like it ever got too slippery or anything like that. I had no problems gripping it. It definitely has a smooth plasticky feel to it. But overall, no complaints. The one thing that I do notice, however, is that the side buttons, they do have a different coating than the rest of the mouse. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure. I don't know if this is like some type of a glossy coating on here or what it is, but I do feel like the side buttons, they feel just a little bit more slippery. So let's go ahead and jump into the click implementation on this mouse. This mouse does feature my favorite switches. It has the transparent Huano blue shell pink dot switches in them. So let's go ahead and drop a sound test for you guys. All right, so when it comes to the overall click implementation on this mouse and the overall build quality, these clicks they do feel good. They feel great. Overall, this feels like a really solid mouse. I love the shape. There's not really any side flexing on it. The buttons, they do feel a little mushier though. The click implementation on this mouse isn't bad by any means. I just feel like the buttons on it, they feel a little spongy. There's quite a bit of pre-travel if I'm pushing to the front of buttons. Even if I'm pushing to the back here, there still is quite a bit of pre-travel. And then post-travel isn't that bad. If you're pushing from the back, it doesn't necessarily make contact with the shell. However, it does the further up that you are pushing on the buttons. When it comes to the scroll wheel, I have no problems with the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel scrolls fine. The click on it, it just feels a little spongier. It doesn't feel as tight. So nothing bad or to complain about, just something that I noticed is a little bit different. And then when it comes to the side buttons were a little bit different for me to get used to. I feel like the side buttons, they feel a little mushy. And let me explain. There's a bit of pre-travel, and after you click the button, there's a lot of post-travel. I feel like you can push the button in quite a bit. It's definitely not some of the worst that I've seen, but if you guys can see there, when you do push the side button in, it kind of can rock back and forth, and honestly the side buttons just feel kind of loose on it. It never hindered the performance of my gameplay or nothing like that. Just something to note if you are big on the way that the side buttons feel. That is something that I wanted to mention to you guys. So when it comes to the rest of the build quality on this mouse, honestly, it feels really solid from the sides. And when I did put this shell on the top, there's quite a bit of flex on this shell. And I didn't necessarily think it'd be so much of an issue. When I first started using the mouse, I kept getting a click when I'd push down the mouse, and I was like, what is that? And what it turns out that it was is, here, let me bring the mic up here. It is actually really easy to actuate this DPI button. I generally don't use the DPI button on my mice, so not so much of an issue with me. It is something you had to adjust. I noticed that being an issue on the honeycomb shell. Let's see with the solid one. So you can still do it with the solid shell. However, it is a noticeable improvement. So if you don't mind the couple extra grams, like I said, which most of you probably won't even notice a difference anyways, then not so much of an issue. But if you are going to be using the honeycomb shell, there's some flex to it, and it does actuate the DPI button quite often, to be honest with you. All right, so next up, let's jump into the skates on this mouse. I'm not sure how well you guys will be able to see this. I'll try and do my best for you. But the front skate, I'm not sure what happened. As you can see when I did the unboxing, one of the reasons I did that is I wanted to show you guys that this mouse does not come with any additional skates. When I got this mouse, the front skate on this mouse is just like really damaged. It's like really dented, and it's like wavy. If you run your finger across it, you can feel like some big dips in it. And on top of that, the thing that's kind of concerning to me is on the skate on the right side here, it's like flush and flat here with the mouse. But if you were to look on this side, it sticks out a lot more. I've tried testing this mouse on glass, pushing it down on hard pads, you know, putting it on my desk and pushing on as hard as I can. I tried to flatten out as much as I can, but again, I'm not sure how well this will come through on the camera or how well you guys will be able to see that. But the skate on this side of the mouse is raised up and not as flush on this side. And then again, it does have like a really wavy pattern on it. With the honeycomb shell on here, the weight feels pretty good. Honestly, in my opinion, it feels a little heavier towards the front, just barely. And then when it comes to the left and right balance on the mouse, honestly, the balancing left to right on this mouse is great. All right, so now let's talk about the sensor and the performance of this mouse. I'm gonna show you guys how to install the software. You have to come to the website. You have to come down to this mouse section right here. There's options just for this one little section right here where you can go to second page, third page, etc. You wanna go all the way to the last page, and this is where you download the software for this mouse. And upon opening up the software, it did have a higher debounce setting, so I went ahead and turned the debounce on the mouse all the way down. And after testing this mouse back and forth, moving around my desktop, I mean, like I'm telling you guys, just moving around on my desktop, I was just like, man, what is wrong with this mouse? I finally was able to figure out this mouse actually comes with mouse acceleration already enabled on the mouse. So as you can see right here, I believe this is called the pointer precision control option. The first thing you want to do when you get this mouse is you want to download the software and you want to disable this pointer precision control. By turning off the mouse acceleration on this mouse, it did start to perform more normally. Aside from turning down the debounce time on this mouse in the software, since I was having issues with that DPI button, I went ahead and I only set to one DPI setting so that it wouldn't change DPI settings on me in the middle of my gameplay. And I do want to say that even though I am enjoying this mouse, you know, honestly, I don't know what it is. Something about this mouse still kind of feels off to me. I have been noticing some slight irregularities with this mouse. I've been kind of testing it back and forth with Mouse Tester, and I've been seeing some things in there that kind of look a little questionable. And to give you guys an idea of these irregularities that I'm talking about, here's a sample of the Lamzu Atlantis Mini in Mouse Tester. It looks completely normal. And here are just two examples taken out of the Ajazz mouse that I found when using Mouse Tester. Now, I do want to let you know that I'm not trying to make a big deal about this or anything like that. It's just something I want to make aware to you and to Ajazz as well if they are watching this video. I have felt like most of the time this mouse performs normally, but every once in a while it's almost like I get like these lag spikes or these jitters or packet losses or something. I don't know exactly what it is. And the only reason I'm even bringing this up to you guys is I have got mice in the past that have kind of had issues when I got them out of the box. I go to the website and they do have a firmware update on there. It usually just irons out the issue. I have been looking around for firmware updates for this mouse and I don't see any out there yet. So hopefully by the time this video comes out or shortly after, maybe they will come out with a firmware update for this mouse and hopefully we'll get these issues ironed out in the future. And I just wanted to let you guys know that if I do see anything like that, I will make sure to either pin a comment or make sure to post some information in the description of this video for you guys. Currently in the software, I don't see any type of an option that allows you to adjust or disable the sleep on this mouse. And the thing that is weird about this mouse is I kept thinking that it was breaking because when this mouse does go into sleep mode, it just doesn't work. What you actually have to do is you actually have to click the button on the mouse to turn it back on and to get it to start working again. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up all my experiences with using this mouse. Now let's go ahead and jump into my favorite thing about this mouse, and that's the shape. The shape of this mouse is truly incredible. This is truly one of the best shapes on any mouse that I've ever used. It is something pretty comparable to the HTS Plus. The side profiling, I feel like it goes more narrow towards the bottom and it curves out more going to the top, where I feel like this is kind of a less aggressive curve from bottom to top right here. And the sidewalls feel a bit higher. And I just feel like the overall shape of the AJ199, I just feel like it's a bit easier to use no matter where you grip the mouse from, whether you grip it from the back, the middle, or the front of the mouse. It gives you plenty of room and it's very comfortable for all types of grip styles that I have tried on the mouse. These mice are both pretty much the exact same length when you look at them right here. As you can see here on the HTS Plus, the HTS Plus has a little bit lower of a mid hump here, but it has a less aggressive curve towards the rear, where this one has a little bit of a higher of a mid hump, but I feel like it tapers off more quickly and more aggressively to the rear. And due to the fact that the AJ199 has a more aggressive and a quicker taper off towards the rear of the mouse, it kind of makes the HTS Plus feel like it's a little bit of a longer mouse in the hands, and it does kind of make the AJ199 feel like it's a bit shorter of a mouse due to the rear hump curve profile on these mice. Another thing to mention about the shape of these two mice is the HTS Plus, it goes just a little bit lower in the front of the mouse, where I do feel like the AJ199 sits a little bit higher in the front. All right, and next up for comparison, we'll go ahead and throw it up to the Pulsefire Haste. I would say that overall, the shape of these is a little similar. On the Pulsefire Haste, I feel like the hump on the Pulsefire Haste is much pointier, where I feel like the overall top of the Ajazz mouse, it just tapers off less aggressively towards the front and the back. So it feels like a little bit of a smoother mouse. I do prefer the shape and the size of the Ajazz mouse over the Pulsefire Haste. Alright, so next up when it comes to the GPRO Superlight, I can definitely see where people are making comparisons. Honestly, the front of these mice are pretty similar. I would say the shape of the front of these mice looks almost identical. As you can see, the curve profile, the height, everything on them pretty much feels identical when it comes to the front of the mouse. And then when it comes to the side profiling, I do feel like the Ajazz is a bit more curved. Curves on the Ajazz. I honestly do feel like the curves on this mouse are just right. I don't feel like it's too much or too little. I do feel like that the GPRO Superlight, it feels a little bit flatter on the side. sides, but overall that would be my comparison on the side profiling on both of these mice. And I will say that when it comes to the top hump profile on both of these mice, they are quite a bit different. Again, the Ajazz has that high middle hump and it more aggressively tapers off towards the rear, whereas the GPRO Superlight, it just kind of has this middle hump. It kind of goes to almost like a secondary hump back here before it more aggressively tapers off. So as far as the actual top hump profile of these mice, even though they do have lots of similarities, I would say the top hump profile on these mice are very different. All right, guys, so that wraps things up pretty much for the Ajazz AJ199. Overall, I feel like this mouse has so much potential. So can I recommend this mouse to you guys coming in at around the $80 price point? And to be completely honest with you guys, I just feel like this mouse is just outclassed by the Lam's Atlantis Mini and the Pulsar X2 Mini. I do feel like this is a great mouse. I feel like it has a lot going for it. I feel like the overall shape of the mouse is phenomenal, but if you could pick this mouse up under like $50 or so, would it be worth it? It'd probably be worth checking out at that point. But then there's also the concern is what kind of potential does it have? Whereas if you're having the same issues that I'm having with the mouse, if it's something you would be able to fix or swap out for another copy. However, with all that being said, I do feel like Ajazz has a potential absolute banger on their hands. If they could just fix a little bit of the issues, tighten up the quality on this a little bit overall. Maybe go ahead and throw in an extra pair of skates, get a dongle holder in there. And honestly, if they could do all that and fix up the performance on the mouse, have it around the $50 price point, then I would say that we're gonna have an absolute winner on our hands here. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other questions or you feel like there's anything I left out, please let me know down in the comments below. And aside from that, if you're interested in seeing any more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.